So I guess we all know now that Meghan Markle's big rebranding hope is the relaunch of the TIG. And I can see why she would want to do that, because back when the TIG was in its heyday, she didn't used to receive any negative press. She didn't used to have any negative press. Now, it could be argued that she wasn't well known enough to have any negative press, because you've got to be quite well known to get negative press. But she didn't, she had sort of this quite pure little reputation. The TIG was a nice little well-branded website and everything was quite lovely. So she wants to go back to those days. But as we know, those of us that have been around the block a few times, you can't go back. You can't ever go back. You must always move forward. So I was lying awake when I couldn't sleep and I was pondering, if I had the job of rebranding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, what would I do? And what would be sort of the impediments to that? What would make it difficult? And I realised that it was that old campaign that she did for Reitmans. Now, I've got to interject here, because half of Canada says Reitmans and half of Canada says Reitmans. Now, I'm going to say Reitmans because that's what Meghan said in the commercial when she did it for the jeans and the evening wear. She said, ladies, it's Reitmans. So I'm going to say Reitmans, but you can correct me. But let's not get into an argument over Reitmans or Reitmans. Okay, we'll just accept we all say it differently. But that is going to make it very hard for her, I think, for any high-end clothing brand or even any high-end makeup brand wanting to be associated with her, because that's still out on the internet and it's just not the brand. But also, just from a pure business sort of fashion point of view, if I had a high-end fashion brand, I don't think I would want her to represent my high-end fashion brand, because I know she did Reitmans and that all that campaign is still out on YouTube. It's still out on the internet. It's never going to go away. So do you see, once you accept that sort of lower end, then I think it pretty much slots you in there and you can become a duchess, but you still did a campaign for Reitmans. Now, while we're on Reitmans, all of you would know the story that on the production shoot for that contract, there was a lot of angst. And, it was mentioned in Tom Bower's book, but you don't have to get your information from Tom Bower's book on that, although it was very accurate, this bit. It can be easily verified because there are Facebook posts and there are newspaper articles and there are magazine articles and there are direct interviews that back up the fact that this production shoot was a nightmare. Now, for those of you who don't know the story, you could pretty much call Reitmans the Reitman Survivors Club, the poor production team that had to work on this shoot. Now, she did 2 shoots for them. The first one was fine, really not an issue. But March of the following year was the second shoot, and there was a 35-second commercial, and they could not get her to give them script approval. She just hated the script. And so there's all this to and fro with creative and artistic directors and the director and everyone you could imagine, and they just couldn't get her happy with that script. So in the end, the night before they were due to shoot, the director rang the artistic director for Reitmans, the creative director, and said, look, we're just going to have to give her what she wants. We're just going to have to give her ideas, because that way we'll get a great commercial because she'll be happy and it will win in the end. So they did. They gave her the script that she wanted, although she actually wanted to ditch the whole thing and actually go and shoot it off in the Bahamas. She wanted a holiday, fully paid 5-star hotel in the Bahamas while she shot this commercial. But she had to make do with a 5-star hotel in Montreal, and there was lots of diva demands, and she was upset because the green juice was warm, and she wanted to book into the hotel under another name because she didn't want to be disturbed by other guests or the paparazzi. But the hotel said, oh, what a load of codswallop, and said she had to book in under her name, Meghan Markle, and there wasn't any paparazzi And no one bothered her. So it was fine. That was good. She was in getting her hair and makeup done, and the manicurist who was booked for the shoot came to do her nails. Now, Meghan was sort of gossiping with the hairstylist and the makeup artist because she knew them. She'd worked with them before. And the manicurist sort of, joined in a bit, as you would expect, just and joined in. Well, she just got markled. She got the look. She was frozen out. It was known that, what are you doing? You don't speak to me unless you're asked to or unless you're allowed to, because evidently the whole production team got told that they weren't allowed to look at her and they weren't allowed to talk to her. And evidently she left in tears. She was so humiliated. She was an experienced person. She was in her early 30s, so, it wasn't as if she's an experienced young little kid. But she was really humiliated and was in tears by the time she left. So a lot of people have said, well, then that heralds what happened to the Sussex Survivor Squad, because they point that this sort of quite mean and targeted behaviour had existed even before she met Harry. And then finally, I thought about rebranding Harry. And you know what I think is going to be a real hiccup for him, aside from, attacking his family and doing all the things he has done and the book and the docuseries and everything. The Heart of Invictus special that he did for Netflix, I think that is a real sticking point, because is it a commercial deal that? Is the Heart of Invictus going to be part of the deal that the Sussexes did with Netflix? Are they going to receive payment for that special? Or is the money from that going to go straight to Invictus? Because if it's a charity thing where it is part of the Netflix deal, but when they provide it, aside from the production costs, they would have to be reimbursed for production costs, obviously, because Archwell are producing it. So, of course, they would have to be reimbursed for that. But any profit made, if that went straight into Invictus, well, then I think, I think that's going to be a positive for Harry. I think it's going to be a great way to improve his brand. But I don't know, because there's been no mention of that. And if it's a completely commercial deal, because I don't know, you would think then that the ex-servicemen and women that have taken part in that Heart of Invictus documentary should actually receive a cut of the action. They should get a piece, because if they're appearing and starring in it, well, then they should get a cut. If it's a commercial deal, let me know in the comments down below if you had the job to rebrand them both. Just put your feelings aside, and I know that you don't want to rebrand them, but just as an interesting, fun exercise, if you had the job of rebranding the Sussexes, do you think the TIG is the way to go? Do you think this Invictus documentary is going to help? Or would you just wipe the slate clean, start again, and if so, what would you do? I'd love to see what you say. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.